It's National Inclusion Week, and at our hospice, inclusion means more than just a word. It's about creating a place where every voice is valued, respected, and heard. To mark this week, we've brought together staff, some of who are part of our community advocates, to share their thoughts on what inclusion means in our everyday work and care. In this roundtable, they'll be reflecting on 6 key prompts, exploring how we can continue to build a truly inclusive community for everyone we support.
What does inclusion look like in practice for patients, families, and supporters?
I guess that people just want to get the sense that environment that they're going into is one that they naturally feel a part of through the representation. So if you're of a certain specific sub-community or culture or whatever that may be, that where you're going to with terms of the hospice or anywhere where you're going, that is a place that you feel welcome and not that you don't feel naturally different or excluded from anything. You just feel like when you're coming into it that the way they behave and the representation they have, that you just feel a part of it by nature.
Well, I think that's it. You've explained it. And for supporters, I think if I was supporting this hospice from the outside, not as a patient, just as a supporter or one who would like to donate, I would want to see that the hospice represents and includes people who live in the community and they actually do what they say they do.
I think for me, it's when I reflect back and think about some of the patients and their families that I've been supporting in the community who have a different cultural or ethnic background to myself, it's important for me to ask questions so that I understand what's important to them. How can I be the best practitioner? And that's about learning and understanding what their needs are, what's important for them in their faith and culture and their family. Because if I come in with my own agenda, then it's not going to be an inclusive relationship, and that doesn't build trust.
I think that both of what you said actually connects quite well in terms of the process of kind of how you engage with people, in terms of how you speak to them and how you support them has to be all done in a way that makes them a part of it. And by asking those questions and getting that understanding, they'll feel like, this is actually based on what is right for me. You're not talking at me or to me. It's about a we, and and it helps them to feel part of the hospice and the organisation.
We sometimes source nursing homes for patients, and talking to family, we realise that what suits one person may not suit another person, and somebody from a different culture wants a particular nursing home because they understand their culture, the food, and they understand everything. So we can do that. We can go out and look at different nursing homes and accommodate the family as best we can.
I mean, look at it this way. Surprise birthday parties. You know how you feel when you throw that. That's how it is. So you like, oh boy, I'm left out. Oh, they left this out because you weren't included in the plans. That's why it's surprise birthday party. So we as humans, we always want to be involved in whatever decision or whatever plan is being made outside of us. I would really like to know whatever people want to get me for Christmas. I feel very helpless. So it's the same thing, I guess, for our patients and their families if they're left out. Little things really does matter.
Next one. What is one thing we do at the hospice to help local diverse communities feel more comfortable or understood?
So one thing we do, community engagement.
Yeah.
We operate open door policy. So people come in and out, I guess. And they come around, walk around the grounds. It's an open place for people to go and ask questions if they wanted to.
Exactly that, and I think we do things that facilitate that by having people who actively go out to the communities, the specific communities that we want to kind of make sure that we are in touch with, so it's not always the same people, make sure we're reaching people of different demographics, different cultures, and having staff who literally their role is to kind of get out to them, but at the same time, we're running events that allow them to come to us as well. So the events we do are set up in a way that it's inclusive of all cultures and not just specified around engaging with one. And I think that helps us to create that two-way relationship.
I mean, I was Santa Claus 1 year, so
I brought my grandchildren to that.
exactly.
I think there can sometimes be a lot of myths about what hospice care is, and I know that as well. I've been really fortunate to be able to do some work with Nepalese community in their local area, and when they come to visit the hospice, talking about advanced care planning. And one of the things that I learned, amongst the many things I learned, was that for the Nepalese community, they don't have wills. And so one of the questions I was asking in advanced care planning was, have you made a will? And so they don't make wills. What I was explained to me was that their property and things is distributed amongst family. So that was really interesting for me to understand that, and important, because when we're looking at being inclusive and producing, literature, being able to really understand, that actually not all communities, cultures experience these same things that perhaps somebody like myself might.
I think that the key thing there is that you learned that, but it's not like you've just brushed it aside and kind of moved on. The fact that you're here sharing that with us, that's exactly what then allows us to then, as all together, be more supporting of people in a diverse community. By the fact that you're now sharing that, we can all take that on.
I think another thing before we move on is respect. We respect other people and people's cultures. Because from what I've seen, we've had people come from different backgrounds, from the Muslim background, from the Sikh background, from the Hindu background, from the Nigerian background. We have Pentecostal churches come in and they've come to talk to us. And I think one thing they took away was the atmosphere. We gave them a platform to really say what they wanted to say and to hear what their opinions were and hear about their culture and how they do things with regards to end of life. And I think that is key. The key word there is respect. We respect them, and I think that makes them comfortable.
And we listen. We listen to what they're saying.
We really do care. We do care. We do above and beyond for our communities. We do. We do a lot. That's a huge one.
When have you seen someone feel especially included or welcomed at the hospice? What made the difference? Something that springs to mind immediately, last year in December, we had the Lang Lang Foundation came in and a concert was put on, and patients from the inpatient unit came in. It was in this room actually. We had people were invited from the community, past and present, patients and their families, and it was a really special afternoon of coming together, of celebrating, remembering, and just being really present for staff and for patients and for their families. Some children as well, whose special people had died. We were also presented with some gifts, and it felt just a really special afternoon.
Even when people have lost their loved ones here, and you think they've moved on a year or two, the doors still open for them. They come back, and then we sit down and they're like, "How are you?" Like, "Oh, you still remember me?" Yeah, I do. I think they see that as, we don't just come in and do our job. It's our job. They pay you to do that, and that was it. No, we still continue to hold that memories for them, and when we see them, we remember. I think that's part of it as well.
Often people will, following the death of a loved one, often people will fundraise, whether that's at a funeral or events afterwards. And I know some people that I've worked with annually have fundraising events and come back to the hospice, and they appreciate being welcomed back, having familiar faces, being recognised, almost part of an extended family, if you like. Being able to continue that connection, that's that continuing bond and those memories for their loved one as well.
And opportunities for some of those people who've lost their loved ones to come back and be volunteers for us.
Yeah,
that's very, very important. That's one of the ways I would say I've seen people included and welcomed at the hospice. That's an integral part of what we do here.
And I think what's great is that it kind of goes beyond just. It can be very easy to get really focused on people who we know are this person has passed away in our care and like on their family, but actually we are very open to people who, even if their loved one didn't necessarily pass away in our care, we're still here for you. You're still a member of us and our community that we want to help. So, for example, we recently had a Garden of Memories event where people could submit their loved one has passed away, and kind of put a message in a photo, and then they were all hung up and printed and put outside, and it didn't matter whether that person passed here or not. It's about how we're helping you. Exactly, it's just about, because that's what we're here for, right? Just helping our community and deal with what happened in relation to the passing of somebody. And I think the fact that we are so open to, regardless of the nature and the circumstance of it, and how it goes beyond just. It doesn't matter whether your loved one passed specifically in our care. We're here for you, and we're ready to help you and connect with you however we can.
And also, very similar to Janine, Lights of Love at Christmas. That's a way of people coming together, remembering, and anyone can come to that. It's just a reminder of people and the love that the hospice have for people that have lost people, and who not necessarily at the hospice, but it's a good way. So it was really nice. Yeah. Okay. My turn. Pass is on. Are there local diverse groups who might find it harder to feel included in hospice activities, care? What small changes could help remove those barriers?
If there are local diverse groups that are finding it harder to feel included, we haven't reached them yet.
Yeah, so it's about awareness.
Yeah, we'll continue to try, do what we do to reach these communities. Recently, we were talking about the Rastafarian community, and we've identified, we need to reach out. So when we go out to patients and their families, we not just there to just treat the symptoms and address the financial concerns. We're also looking at, your community is new to us. How do we reach out to the wider community, your people around there? So we've identified that, and we've discussed that with the community engagement team to see how we can reach out to the Rastafarian community.
Yeah, because I think there'll be inherent reasons why people would just not be aware of or have a complete understanding of us, and that's it's on us to then try and think about identifying these communities and then coming up with how we can actually connect with them. So they, as you say, step one is making them aware of us, and then step two is kind of making sure they actually really understand what we're about, because we've all seen the amount of people here that give us the idea that we are genuinely wanting to connect with people of all backgrounds and communities. Not everyone may understand that from their initial glance from the outset, but we can do the things to help them to understand that, and then that will help them get over that potential mental barrier of really connecting with us.
I think sometimes as well in language, the word hospice might not translate into other languages, or be something that's common.
I think another group that could do with some support would be gypsies and travellers, because they have their own cultural ways of doing things. Although we can support them, are they aware that they can carry on with their cultures and what they do, but still have the support of the hospice.
I think some of the ways we could help remove the barriers or those barriers that we've identified is to go out to the places where they go to, like trust places like GP centers, to make our presence felt there. So maybe attend meetings there and they get to know us gradually, or go to the different cultural centers and libraries and all of that, place where meetings are heard. Yeah.
An area that I've become more aware of and perhaps just more interested in is people who are homeless or are living in houses of multi-occupancy, so perhaps have unsecure housing, and understanding that often as a result of the situations they might not be having appropriate access to health services or to benefit information, and then subsequently perhaps are not having access to the services that the hospice might be able to provide. And perhaps, something for the future to look at is how we reach into communities on the outside there to support people who have different ways of living, and it might be through choice. Sometimes it's not always because of difficult circumstances.
How could our community advocates help your department strengthen inclusion and engagement with the communities we serve? So first and foremost, community advocates. This is in the word, we're community advocates, and that's what we've been doing. In my capacity, I've met with different groups in the community to talk about the hospice, talk about our roles, how we can help them, and how they can also help us, especially knowing a thing or two about them.
Yeah. And as much as it is about us being able to inform about the hospice and what we might do, it's also just an amazing opportunity to learn and grow ourselves, and then be able to share that with our colleagues at the hospice.
I think it's just about helping to connect the dots, really, because I think it can be very easy, due to no fault of anyone, to get a bit siloed and kind of focused on, I need to get this done, this is my work and kind of get it done. But at the end of the day, so from my perspective, working in fundraising, I want us to be connecting with our communities and supporters, and that's the win-win situation where we can have better relations with people, they benefit from it, and we can kind of make more income through fundraising that allows us to help more people. And for example, in a few weeks we're hosting our Fun Day event, which is the primary objective is engaging with our supporters, but there will always be missing links if I don't actually understand who the people in our community are and who we're trying to target. So I think it's almost, the community advocates can help me and people of my kind of roles to understand these are the people in the community that we need to try to connect with more, and as a secondary to that, what kind of things will allow us to actually engage with them more. Because it's one thing knowing who you want to connect with, but also the second, actually to how best to get to them in terms of how you communicate with them, what things are going to resonate with them, because it's different for every individual, and actually creating that picture all together, and it's like, okay, cool, actually we can then do this, and this is these things that I can do to help to bridge that. So I think it's just about bringing it all together to make sure we're kind of all working together, connecting those dots rather than kind of working inside. And I think those are the kind of things we can do to try and do that. Right, our last question. How can we better support patients and families whose culture or first language is different from ours?
So for us, we don't usually meet the patients until way further down the line, and they've obviously gone through a lot of other departments and areas first. We have got a Vietnamese family at the moment, and Mum and Dad don't speak English, and the daughter was really quite worried about how we were going to manage that. But I reassured her and said, we do this is something that we do all the time, and the girls are very good at signs, symbols, all sorts. We explained to the daughter what we needed, what we were going to do, how we would do it, so that she could then relay it to her dad, because she actually lives in Liverpool, so she's not local. So she was going to relay it all to her dad, who was going to relay it to her mum, so they knew what to expect and you know, what the team would be doing, and hopefully that's reassured them. We haven't heard anything otherwise, so.
I think it's about not making assumptions and asking questions.
Yeah.
What's important to you? How can I best support you? What do you need in order for you to feel comfortable? And then, you know, kind of working from that starting point.
Like Joe said earlier, by the time Joe's team get involved, it's always at the tail end. So Joe will rely on the rest of us to have asked this question: what is important to you? What goals you want to achieve? What do you want in the care package? How you want people to address you? Do you want people to take off their shoes when they come in? Do you want them to wear gloves? So all of that, if we do it well, by the time that gets to Joe will be able to, and her team will be able to put a proper care plan in place that will support these people.
I guess it's also taking a bit of a step back from kind of the specifics of it, but looking at it from a bit of a wide, holistic perspective of are there fundamental things, and having a process in place for identifying fundamental gaps that are kind of coming up more frequently, or, you know, we're in a world where there's so much data out there, like using that data to understand these are what the people of our community, these are the languages they speak, this is kind of things that will work for them, and making sure we're then connecting to that, and, you know, that the starting point might actually be kind of feeding that through to kind of our HR team and how they hire people, and, you know, saying, okay, if we're struggling we've identified a gap here, maybe for the next role, not all of them, maybe this role we need to find someone who specifically is bilingual in this element. So I think, you know, that can be part of it, having that process of how we can identify the gaps or that of areas that we're maybe not quite hitting the mark, so that we can then find a way of kind of tackling it, of kind of solving that from a bit more of a top line perspective, so that we have that process in place for supporting people as best as possible.
I think it's also about, although that we're really mindful just because somebody identifies us with a certain culture or belief, that we are still respecting them as individuals, as unique, with their own family experiences and lifestyles, and that we ask questions and we're curious, and that they're the most important person in the middle of all of that.
I think I agree with Janine there. It's individualizing their care. I'm Nigerian, but we have 260 tribes or more than that, so I don't really do everything like every other person. So if you just assume, oh, he's Nigerian, let's give him this type of food, you might just be surprised out there. So it's individualizing the care. That's also a way to better support patients and families.
Yeah, that's it. You don't want to generalize it. You just want to be able to have something in place just so we're not making the same mistakes over and over. And if there's those things reoccurring, we can actually have things in place that allow us to attack things from a bit more of a wider perspective, not just dealing with it on a one-to-one basis and then making that same mistake next time, I think.